They move. They get to the next thing, they move and move and move. Yeah. So the only pain or complaint I would have is when they are not looking back and pulling others up. You know? And looking back and pulling others up is creating stuff which other people can utilize to grow to the next level. To the level where we can say, okay, let's get even a national system that can automate county functions. I can look at the budget for Narok and tell how much has been spent this quarter, what is left, what are the projects of priority, what is the governor going to do next year, what is his priority around water. Then we can plan around and say, yes, let me come with an idea that can help this guy in Narok because I can see he has a problem with water. As it is, everything is, sorry to use the word, opaque. You can't tell what is where.
The opaque nature of things.
So how are you going to help? You can't even
0.01 errors.
You cannot apply any of your skills to help anyone. So,
Chief, I like how you think, and of course, as you said, we will go chronologically so that you can understand. And even if there is a young guy who will listen to us or will watch us, they can understand even what they are doing right now. They're on the right track, and even change. Because by and large, I believe there is one fundamental problem, and it's actually caused by only one problem, which is corruption. And that's why even someone looks up and says, why would I work hard and I can just become an MP or become a governor and, my life is sorted. And this problem is mindset.
Yes.
Because number one, our schools, even the way they are right now, they're designed to brainwash us to think the same way. Can you imagine 40 million educated, 40, that's like a pathetical.
That
if we had 40 million educated people, they educated the same way to compete for the same opportunities and actually to like even do things the same way, for lack of better definition. So if we're able to change the mindset, then we can address some of the issues very easily. Because now people, and I tend to think how CBC is like designed. It is not perfect, but it is a way of like getting people to do things by themselves and also to explore what they can do and what they can't. So if we change mindset, and that actually happens from you learning from other people, and I believe more on apprenticeship, where you learn by doing, where you learn by looking and doing. And that's why I like when our guests share their journey, as opposed to like say, I was so and so, I opened this, I'm an entrepreneur. And by the way, this is something interesting. Very few Kenyan billionaires, you'll sit with them down and they tell you chronologically how they did it. Even getting the first billion. And it's so sad because now there's nothing to learn from those people. You only know they are rich. Of course, you can see from what they are doing. And also you associate richness or wealthiness with the wrong things. Because someone has a car, you think they are very wealthy. Because someone maybe lives in a posh area, you think they are very wealthy. And as you said something very important. A billionaire dies and you are like, there were loans. So all this life was just synthetic, right? So if we change mindset and say, you know what, if you're living in your place, you can afford to have a meal, maybe you have a family, you can afford to educate your children, it's okay. You don't need to swing for the fences for you to think that you're okay. And some of these things actually you can acquire them, but also you can use them to even enable you or your family to get to a better place. So that said, I think where we escalated this conversation was the primary school, right? So we'll just fast track maybe the primary school, but if there's anything important that you think you should share for someone who is in primary school that actually you learned a lot, and I'll ask one single question around that. I know you did the 7 subjects. 7 subjects.
That one. The old
Yes. I did 5, so
you are slightly better.
I just transitioned when people are doing. Is it 5? Now even I can't remember.
There's been so many changes you can't track.
In 2002, there, so that's
they might have reduced
5.
5.
Now they have brought them back. I remember I used to do art and craft, which was really amazing. I was a good artist. But after they changed, I was like,
you have to.
Why do I need to draw? You understand? But now I see like how you can even transform those kind of talents to sciences. When you come to doing the architecture, come to doing UI, UX, graphic design, there's so much application besides just becoming someone who draws people's faces. Like I see nowadays on the internet, there are people who actually are doing that business. It's so sad. I'm not saying it's a bad business, but it's so sad because it's not scalable. If you're not doing it, there is no one else who can do it, essentially. So mine was, and you can answer according to what you think is important. Like me, I like asking a very simple question. How are you able to pass your exam to get to, is it called Libon? You are Libon.
Yeah,
Libon, right?
Yes.
So how are you able to hack the KCP? Because I know it, as much as it was a multiple choice, it is not that directly easy. So how are you able to like do a study plan, and be able to pass that? Or if your dad pulled the string, which most leaders do, but according to what you described with your dad, I don't think he's the kind of a guy who would do that. But if he did that, don't share around it.
We talk
Say
about
he did it. Because also I know Liboni back in the day was a Liboni. If you become a Lenana guy, it was much respect. I don't know about now, but you can share that experience.
So I think for me, what saved me in primary school was I was an avid reader. So just read.
So you read all the books?
Yes. And that would mean we read newspapers. We were lucky those days. Newspapers were still affordable. Now you have to think.
To a child of an MP.
To put it that way. But I was not always a child.
Let me give you the context. Me, I saw newspapers in some restaurants where we went to eat.
That is also applicable. You can imagine if the guy who worked in that restaurant, the only failure he has is if he never used to read that. Because imagine the owner has probably bought it to read. And maybe they never read it. So as you say, opportunities come. They don't always tell you, I am an opportunity. But me, I was lucky because, number one, those newspapers. But two, I went to a school that had a library. So that was very good. And that's something that, primary school.
You are privileged.
It was very rare.
I agree with you.
And it's not far. It's just, Lavington Primary. That's a library.
Of course. So, of course.
But I was living in Ofafa Jericho at that time. So I used to commute across. Bus number 50 that would come all the way, one bus to Lavington and back to Ofafa Jericho. So Jerusalem, we went through that life. But anyway, long and short is, I used to read as much as I could.
Let me make some context here. So for those who are living in Ofafa Jericho, the Ofafa Jericho you are living right now is not the Ofafa Jericho Paul is talking about. That was like a Lavington back then.
It was a good place.
And then I think Lavington then was a new estate.
It wasn't even built up.
It was just another place.
Mostly bushy. So most of this area was owned
it still is. Most of the people bought the land. We are in Lavington right now. The people who bought land here did not cut the indigenous
trees. This is 20-30 years old. Most of the area here. Even the buildings. So this whole area was just open ground, owned by one guy at that time called, I think it was Ole Tip Tip. So, and I know
he has a relationship with the other Ole Tip Tip?
Was the original Ole Tip Tip.
So the other one is the son?
Yes. John Keynes, they held land in trust and they had a lot of education.
Were they Maasais?
Yes, they were Maasais.
So it's true what they say about
Nairobi was Maasai land. So how
that's new information.
How that shifted?
I thought it's just
no, it's actually. I mean, it's during our generation. It's not something that happened. Before it's during our generation that this shift happened. All these Lavington Cave, all these areas. This was bush. We used to play in this hole. It was just open ground. So anyway, how those shifted? That's historians to tell you. So I would read anything and everything I could find. That was the first. Secondly, because my dad was up and down. It meant that I needed to communicate. You see, I would go home, like on a Tuesday, he's still in Parliament. I've come home, I had my dinner, I've slept. Comes in the night, and he leaves again at 6 a.m. or 5. I'm not awake yet. By the time I wake up, he's gone. But I can tell he was around because he's come, he has changed shoes, he's changed clothes and all. So he slept here.
There's a newspaper somewhere.
Yes, there's a newspaper. Even if it's for yesterday.
Yes.
Like that. So every day. Then I realized I can't sit up and wait for this fellow. It's too late and I can't wake up very early to catch him. So he devised what? A communication system. Which was what? Writing notes. So I had to write a letter. Dear Dad,
so you started writing at
class 2.
Okay.
Expressing myself and saying how school was and what I need.
Okay.
And then he would come home. Those would be one of the things I know. When I look back, I would say as a parent, I would look forward to such. I've been written for a note by my child. And he would come and he would respond on the backside. hey, school was this, parliament was this, we discussed this, the other. I don't know what he's talking about, but at least he's communicating.
It's interesting.
Because I kept some of those notes. Then he says down there, okay, so let me look
Until
for some
today,
money.
you have the notes?
I still have some of them, yes.
Amazing.
I look for some of these, the money that you've asked for. Let's see what we can do by tomorrow. When I come in the evening, I flip, I find his writing. I'm like, man, I read that. I just feel good. This guy, we have communicated, we've connected, even if I haven't seen him.
Yeah.
Then we go the next day like that. On Wednesday, he comes now. He leaves a note and he has folded the money in the note that I had written.
Chief,
so when I just find
very
it,
amazing life.
I'm like, man, I've made it this week. So I get the money, I do that, and you move on.
So he never sent someone to do your mom? Or
No.
It was just a man to
Never
man.
sent. It was
direct.
Now,
that's amazing.
2 things happen because of that. Sometimes he would write a note in Swahili. Now, I know this is personal for us, so I can't give somebody else to read for me this note.
You never knew Swahili? Or?
So I had to now step up my Swahili. Because
your Swahili was not that
it wasn't all that, yeah. But now if he's writing in Swahili, you see, he had been to Makerere, he had been to Dar es Salaam University as well, lecturing there. So he had some very good Swahili.
Yeah.
I'm like, even I have to learn how to speak this Swahili. So I now not just learn to speak, but I had to write it.
Yeah.
So I learned that. So because of that, I was forced to be good in Swahili and English. Remember, he had been to the UK. So I can't write broken English because the guy will underline like a teacher. He was a teacher.
Okay.
He'll underline.
So even there's some learning that is going on.
He's marking my notes. So if he's doing that, by the time we've done 3 months, man, my writing is on another level. There was never, I remember I got Swahili and English, both in primary school and high school. I got straight A's.
Nice.
Swahili and English. Because of that, because of just that keenness of, and then you'd come and say, okay, now he brought Nation yesterday, today he has brought Taifa Leo.
Taifa Leo, yeah.
Now I'm wondering, this is our oldest paper in Swahili.
And by the way, interestingly, people don't know this, and I think it's good to mention that Taifa Leo writes good Swahili. I don't know if they do that nowadays, but I used to read a lot of Taifa Leo. As much as it's not that detailed as the Nation or maybe Standard Group, Standard newspaper that writes in English, but it wrote good Swahili pieces.
And you
that
see,
could learn from.
Swahili doesn't have many stories.
Yes.
If you're stating facts, you're stating facts. English, is flowery. You can add things and all.
Okay.
That's why the Swahili newspaper was very thin.
Okay.
But you read the story, when you look at the translation in English, the English one has taken 2 pages.
Okay.
This thing is half a page. It has said what needs to be said.
Yeah.
Now he converted, now he just used to write in Swahili. Now I have to figure out words in Swahili. If I'm asking for something, books, what is books? I figure out what is pen, what is ink, what is fountain pen, things which...
Instead you ask for
I had to start figuring them out. Yes. So the point I'm trying to make is that because there was a drive from communicating with my dad, I never had a worry about my language.
So it created curiosity in you over
time. My language. Then because I used to bring things for reading, again, I read a lot. Now, if you're reading well, you already have an advantage.
Yes.
Because remember, everybody else is trying to first understand the language before they understand the subject.
Yeah.
You are going straight to the subject. So if it is science, you're reading science in English. You're not trying to convert first the thinking into English, then you read the science. You see. And that's one of the challenges I think we are told people like in Tanzania had that challenge for a long time because everything was in Swahili. They now started going into higher...
They still do.
Now,
but they're doing well.
They are doing... Yes. Tanzania is going to beat us if we're not careful. GDP.
No, this is what I believe that you mentioned Tanzania. Tanzania, when they will rise up, it's like a community rising up. As opposed to us, we're just different tribes.
That's the thing. See, for them, they have this one big sea or ocean and boats in it. As everybody has their own small ocean and swimming pool. So here, this other one, if you just raise the tide for the ocean, all the boats. All the boats
capsize.
Just by swimming pool that I'll raise. It's just for me. This is a challenge that we have. Anyway, that's beside the point. So
no, it's very, very important because now we are Africans.
Yes. So, and we have to understand that. I mean, I'm amazed. It's off topic, but last year Tanzania had 122% food production. Basically, they produced surplus of their requirements. We could not feed ourselves. We imported 60%, I think, of our food. That tells you something. A nation that cannot feed itself, how are you going to grow? How are you going to develop? What are you talking about? New age stuff, and you're dying of hunger. This is the problem.
I think also same with Ethiopia or something.
Yes. Those guys. Anyway, that's too big a topic right now. But ideally, having learned to then read, now read anything. Now, if you find it's a science book, I'll read the science book. I find it's a math, I read the math. So suddenly now I'm picking up a lot of small things here and there. And then the other thing is that I was involved in all the extracurricular activities. All of them. If it is football, I'll be there. If it is running, I'll be there. So the mind would also find a place to break from this monotony of reading, and just go and do and excel there as well. So the advice would be for people who are in especially primary school, if you can find the time, I know it is hard, find the time, build up on your skills for reading, especially language. Just build up, read as much as you can. You will find you're reading across all subjects, and you'll find that you're appreciating different concepts, and you're starting to ask yourself questions about what did they mean when they say, you know, this is a millipede, this is a centipede. You try and question things in your mind. That way you create a creative, experiential thought process, always querying things. But if you're always just taking things as they are, because you see, the teaching level is for down, imparting, taking things as they are. So, and that's one of the worries we usually have about education, especially in Kenya. At least now CBC might change that, because we all thought education is a vessel to be filled. You open your brain when you go in the morning, the teacher puts things, you close in the evening, you go home.
Until the exam comes.
Yes. It is actually a fire to be ignited. The teacher's responsibility is to light that flame. They just need to figure out how to light it. That's it. Once they light it.
That's a very important point you have put across. Can you please repeat it?
Once you light it, it's not...
The education?
It's not a vessel to be filled. It is a fire to be ignited. Because you want to be everywhere to fill all the heads every time.
Yes.
But if you light the fire once, this fellow is going to keep the fire burning by himself.
Yes, and they can spread it.
Yes,
they can spread it. Yeah,
they will find a way. In the same way, we say you can't prepare the world for your child. You can only prepare your child for the world.
Yes,
so you can't go building roads where your child will pass, but you can create in them the ability to maneuver across any road.
Yes, yes,
because that's an easier task. So the same way with education. Once you realize that all you need is to be shown the direction, this is the way it's going. Beyond there, having seen this is the way, you can do what you want to do.
Yes. Based
on the ability you've been infused in. But if you're waiting to be told, and for a long time it was always, the teacher has said, nobody would query back and ask things. And
True.
So it kind of limited our abilities. When you look at the way people like, Japanese and all do their stuff, it's always querying, checking, finding out. Somebody does something different, they're like, whoa, this is amazing. Here, if you did something different, you get whipped
punished.
into line.
Get punished,
So you realize, okay, this thing can't work. The other thing my dad did was to allow me to be good in the things that I was good in and not to struggle too much with the things that I wasn't good in. Now, what does this mean? We had 8 subjects. Were they 8? I think there were 8.
There were 8, actually, not even 7.
Yeah. So
it's only that during the examination, the religion was put with history and
geography. They combined them in there.
But
so
there were 8,
out of those 7, he realized I was good in the sciences and the arts. What was I poor in? I think I was poor in 2 things. I'm trying to remember. I think it was home science. Must have been home science. I came to be better in home science later in adult life.
Even home science actually was part of that. GSCR.
Yes. So that time, because it wasn't a survival desire, I didn't want to know how to cook things. So they tell us, bake this, bake. I bring funny things and I will always fail that class. Go and knit booties and I don't know what tacking stitch and back stitch. They were just struggles for me. Later in life, I realized. I repair my daughter's clothes. They bring, say, hey, daddy knows how to sew, not the mom.
Okay.
Because now I learned this was a life skill, man. I need to improve on this thing. When I realized when I was now a bachelor, I can't keep tearing things and buying others. I'm going to repair.
Doesn't make sense.
So I bought knitting wool and all that. So I would repair. I repair my stuff.
Using your hands or
the
I
don't have a machine with my hands. I remembered my skills in primary school, which I was poor in. Anyway, he realized this home science thing is not for my son. So he said, look, instead of me beating you to go and improve on home science, I want to celebrate you to improve on your maths and your English, where I was already on 80s.
Yes.
Continue doing that.
Yeah.
This other one, man, the chips will fall where they fall.
Yeah.
Whatever happens.
Yeah.
So I just kept, and that's one of the challenges that parents have. If you have a child who's poor in some areas, we want to make them focus in those poor areas to improve them.
Yeah.
But it is always at the expense of the things that they are good at. Now they start reducing their exposure and their experience in maths, English, Swahili, because they are struggling to pull up history, geography, and things which they are weak in.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, what happens? They become average because the 80 drops to 65, 70. The 40, moves up to 55, 60, but at the expense of the 80.
Yeah.
Now they are a 60 average child. They don't stand out for anything.
Yeah.
They just drift through life.
True.
If you let this fellow continue with his maths at 80, 85, 90, one day somebody will tell him, you don't need these other things, man. This maths will take you where you need to go. Because you're always equipped with the things that we require to survive in life. Yes. So that's what helped me. if you can just master the things you're good at, if you can identify them early in life, people see what you're doing or whatever, even in primary school, and you're like, okay, I can do this. Now start equipping yourself around that area, because that is your salvation.
Yeah.
That is your key.
Yeah.
We all are told, we are all given locks, and we figure out which key is mine, the one I want to open it. So if you figure out that the sciences are yours, focus on that. Yeah, people will complain, your Kiswahili is poor, suji, what? Yeah, it is, man. I can't be everything. Yeah. There are a few who are geniuses, they are in everything, but that's why there are few. It's not everyone.
Yeah.
The rest of us, what we are good at, let's scale it. Let's get better at it. Yeah. Let's not try and be making nuclear submarines and we are here fighting hunger. Let's figure out irrigation first. Then we can try and get the nuclear stuff going.
Yes.
The guys in the US have figured out the food and the nuclear as well. Good for them. Yeah? As we are not yet there. So that's the challenge we have when we're in primary school, being bitten to be better in some subjects which you're struggling with.
Yeah.
And you start losing out on the subjects that you're good at.
Yeah.
So that would be my parting shot for primary school.
Yes.
Just let expose yourself to as many of the subjects as possible. Pick the ones that are good at and try and focus on that. But don't let go of your reading skills.
Reading is very important because now improves on comprehension, understanding,
and understanding
articulating
all the subjects,
yes.
which you're going to need so much when you're in upper primary, high school and the other levels.
Yeah.
Because if you can understand something, you can figure out things.
Yeah.
If you can't understand, you're already at such a disadvantage with everyone else.
Yes.
So that's the big plus I would give for primary school.
No, I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And now you do your KCPE and then...
Yes. So, to come back to your question, I expected to pass because I was in the top 5 of the school, I think from like class 5.
Yeah.
I think I was index 5.
Okay.
So I knew for sure I have to get into a national school. So I never had any doubts about the guy can buy me a slot, and he was never going to. Yeah. My brothers, for information, I think there's only one other who went to a national school, went to Moi Forces. Everybody else, they were given to the schools where they fell as grades, even if he was an MP. Yeah? And they were not bad schools. I want to say, St. Peter's, Mumias, Kamsinga. Those days, Kamsinga was still a bit struggling. Now it's doing very well. It wasn't that, now that he's going to bring you into Nairobi school or whatever. No. This is the level that you've reached, right?
Yeah.
This is what you deserve. And he puts you in the school. Yeah. Go figure it out in there. You'll realize, okay, had I just done slightly better? So my advantage was I saw how they were treated because they were older than me. I saw,
were you the last born by any chance?
That time, no. We were many, so I was 6.
That time?
I was 6 out
how
of 8.
You put it. Yeah, okay.
But at that time, I was the last one.
Okay.
So when I figured out, I was last until class 4. Then 2 others came.
Okay.
When I figured out that it is out of my output that I will take myself where I want to go, and now started concentrating on getting the right grade. So I asked, okay, what do I need for Alliance? I was told a certain grade. I said, this one is going to affect my lifestyle because I have to cut football and I couldn't sacrifice some things. I have to stop playing football. I have to stop. I said, that Alliance is good, but it's going to, I can't. So I said, what else can I aim for? Nairobi school, and I said Lenana because I started playing rugby in primary school. I was like, it's a school that,
Lenana is good.
Yeah, it's good.
Before Nairobi school became very...
Those days. Yeah, there was a competition around Nairobi school and Lenana. Those are the rivals. Yeah. Now they are nowhere. None of them is anywhere. Now it's Jamhuri, Upper Hill. I think Vihiga I saw the other day winning the national rugby. I'm like, times have changed. The sport wasn't even played in Western.
Let me ask you this before you get away from this. You didn't play rugby in primary school?
Primary school, I played a bit. I think in class 7.
Maybe I can ask maybe in a different way. Yeah. What do you think? I never played sport in my life. The closest I came to sport was basketball. And I have my reasons.
Yeah. I would imagine.
I had my reason. Yeah. So how much do you think sport contributed to you focusing, to you becoming, that brilliant or even, also
holistic?
Yeah.
Okay. Where I think the importance is, there's 2 parts. One is just the fitness, being active. We want kids to be active. And for us, the struggle was... In fact, it was a flip of what is happening now. We spend too much time in the field, would have pulled into the houses. Now we are chasing the kids out of the houses because they're stuck on gadgets and devices and they don't see the need for sports and outdoor. So for me, the first thing was just to be active and fit. And I was like, those days there weren't too many lifestyle issues, diseases and all. So you could still enjoy life just in the house. But there was no life in the house. Nobody was in the house. Everybody was outside. So I wanted to be out there. Play from morning till evening. You don't even have lunch.
TV was not a big thing.
No, it wasn't, because it used to be like 6 hours. Opens at 6 and closes, I think, at midnight or something like that. So we were okay with don't even have to sit and watch TV. For information, we never had a TV in the house.
That's what I meant. Like, I can imagine the 90s TV was not a big.
We never had a TV. Even if he could afford to buy a TV, he never bought a TV. The TV he bought was when I finished high school. The first time we owned a TV. And it never changed my life. It never wasn't a big deal for me, because there were so many other things we were doing. We had to develop skills, communication skills, networking, talking with people. Now we are struggling with those skills because we are too much in gadgets.
Yes.
We are here with you and I text you and say, how are you doing? I can't speak to you. I can't walk up to you and say, people decide, let's go out in the restaurant for a meal, and everybody's on their devices. So the parents have decided today we just want to connect with the kids. The kids are all on devices. They are in the restaurant waiting for a meal. So it's very sad. Anyway, sports is important in that first aspect for activity. Secondly, is just to build that bonding aspect and the teamwork. Because there's some sports, much as I could dribble in football, there was no way I was going to dribble 11 people.
True.
I dribble 3, 4, then I get tackled. So you learn to work with people, depend on other people as well. And just, how do you get people to do things that they probably don't want to do?
The influence part of things.
Yes. Nobody really wanted to be like a goalie. But then you sell the narrative, if you're the goalie, you can see what's going on. In fact, you chill, you just watch the game.
Even become the coach. You can tell as well.
Yes. But then this guy is going to get all the hot shots. But you don't want to tell him that one. So you convince him about, the way it will be a joy. In fact, we will keep
the pros guys, of everything.
Yes, we'll keep the ball up there. They won't come this way. When you're playing
until
those guys turn the tables and they start attacking. Then he's getting shots left, right. By then, he's already in the groove. He's not going to come out. He'll be like, no, I committed to my team.
I'm an expert here.
We're going to make this thing happen. So it helped to then at the end of the match, it's like, I would never have, on my own, would never have picked to be a goalkeeper, but you guys convinced me. So that's another aspect of sports. Just having that ability to pull people together towards a common cause, even if that common cause has no monetary, there's no monetary value. How about just do something for fun? It's a very good aspect to have mentally. Like there's some things you could just do. There's no benefit from it.
True.
If you can have that kind of a mentality, not that everything is about money and revenues and getting something back. How about just give of yourself?
True.
Yeah, sports helps in that. People get injured fighting. We have guys who've run for this country. They played football. They got crippled and
people die doing the sport.
I didn't want to go to die, but yes, to that level. And yet there are others who would not lift a finger. They'd rather sit and figure out routes to siphon money. So and those are the ones we celebrate and say they are our heroes. The guys who did the good stuff, the big things. They are just wasted somewhere, and we wait for them to die. Then we celebrate them, put them in big books, and put them on the newspaper. Send money to the widows. It's sad, but anyway. To answer your question, that was what sports did for me. And then I realized that I built a bit of a fame around it. So by the time even I was applying to high school, when you say, I do this, I play this, I do what, they were like, we want this guy. When I was being admitted to school and they look at the things you've shown as your interest, certain people, house masters will come and say, no, we want that one. This guy seems like he's good in this. Let's bring him to our house. So there was
some competitive advantage to have
it gave me a bit of that competitive advantage. So that's what I would say was helpful for me in terms of sports.